Hello, welcome. This is Business Now, reaching you live from iBrandTV News Studios here in Lagos. Coming up in a moment, World Bank says the world faces human catastrophe from looming food crisis. The Nigerian government makes move to rent 200 billion naira tariff shortfall in the power sector by the end of the year. And Nigeria's external reserves rise by $243.83 million in 19 days, according to figures obtained from the Central Bank of Nigeria. And finally, Google to open first African Innovation Center in Nairobi, Kenya. Thank you for joining us, and here are some of the stories we're filing at this hour. I am Frank Komalape. Now, World Bank President David Malpass has said the world faces a human catastrophe from a food crisis arising from Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Malpass said that the record rises in food prices would push hundreds of millions of people into poverty and lower nutrition if the crisis continues. The World Bank calculates there could be a huge 37% jump in food prices. This would hit the poor hardest, who will eat less and have less money for anything else, such as schooling and upward. Malpass, who leads the institution charged with global alleviation of poverty, said the impact of the poor made it an unfair kind of crisis that was true also of COVID-19. The IMF chief said this on the sidelines of the IMF World Bank meetings in Washington. It's a human catastrophe, meaning nutrition goes down, but then it also becomes a political challenge for governments who can't do anything about it, and they didn't cause it, and they see the prices going up, end quote. And in the meantime, the International Monetary Fund says rising private debt will slow economic recovery in Nigeria and across the world, stating vulnerable households and firms might struggle with repayment. IMF disclosed that this would have an impact on economic production, recalling that various governments had offered credit facilities to households and companies, including small and medium enterprises, to support the economy. In Nigeria, the central bank had cut interest on loan from 9% to 5% in 2020 to increase loan demand, and this rate has remained to date. As of September last year, private sector debt hit an all-time high of 33.8 trillion naira. Although non-performing loans ratio has dropped to 4.84% from 4.9% as of February 2022, this slight decline in non-performing loans might not be enough to prevent the debt from slowing down the economic recovery. And away from there now, international charity organization OXFAM has cautioned the International Monetary Fund against pushing developing countries into austerity measures. It lamented that 87% of IMF COVID-19 loans require developing countries to adopt tough new austerity measures, even as it accused the fund of double standards. In a statement in Abuja, Oxfam said new analysis finds that 13 out of 15 IMF loan programs negotiated during the second year of the pandemic require new austerity measures, such as taxes on food and fuel or spending cuts that could put vital public services at risk. The IMF is also encouraging 6 additional countries to adopt similar measures. And in the meantime, the Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, has blamed the country's rising fiscal deficit partly on the ongoing Ukrainian war. According to a report by Reuters, Ahmed, who spoke at the ongoing spring meetings of the International Monetary Fund, said the rise in prices of oil has pushed the country's subsidy budget. This, she argued, has increased the budget deficit to gross domestic products ratio from planned 3.5% to 4.5%. The National Assembly has recently jacked up a 3.56 trillion naira earlier budgeted for subsidy payment to over 12% to 4 trillion naira, causing an outrage across the country. The adjustment was caused by the subsidy bills, he said. Zainab's argument causes stir on social media, especially Twitter, as Nigerians and other nationals not the administration for lacking prudence and creativity in the management of the national economy. Founder of ProShare, Olufemi Awuye, and others who reacted to arguments said it was sad that the government has turned to the war in Europe for the blame game. And now Nigeria's external reserves rose by $243.83 million in 19 days, according to figures obtained from the Central Bank of Nigeria. The CBN revealed in its data on movement in reserves that the value rose from $39.54 billion as of April 1 to $39.78 billion as of April 19, 2022. The external reserves fell by $330 million in March after starting the month at $39.86 billion before falling back to $39.5 billion on March 30. The governor of CBN, Godwin Emefiele, said at the last Monetary Policy Committee meeting that the moderate accretion to reserves reflects the duality of Nigeria's position as an oil export and importer of refined petroleum products. You're watching Business Now, coming to you live from our studios here. We'll take a break now. When we return, we'll bring you more news update with Perpetua.
Swift Dry Cleaners Limited, professional dry cleaners, best in dry cleaning and laundry services, and meets the needs of our consumers. Yeah, Swift Dry Cleaners Limited. Swift Dry Cleaners Limited. Swift Dry Cleaners Limited. Swift Dry Cleaners Limited. Yeah, for clean wash and quick delivery. Yeah, Swift Dry Cleaners Limited. Swift Dry Cleaners Limited. Swift Dry Cleaners Limited. For clean wash and quick delivery.
Swift Dry Cleaners. Clean wash, quick delivery.
Powerful looks command respect, they say. The perfect body, the perfect grooming, and ultimately the perfect skin. Looks, style, and grooming makes the ultimate man. I've found a ridiculously easy way to make my skin always feel epic. My name is Neo. I found Blemiville
and now my scheme finally makes sense.
Thank you, Frank. And now the news in detail. President Muhammadu Buhari on Thursday met with heads of security establishments and some ministers at the State House in Abuja. The meeting comes after recommendations by the National Council of State over the security challenges in the country. Physically in attendance were the Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, the Chief of Staff to the President Ibrahim Gambari, and the National Security Advisor, NSA, Major General Babagana Munguno. President Muhammadu Buhari on Wednesday mourned 2 Air Force officials who died in a jet crash. The Air Force has vowed to investigate the incident, which occurred during training activities in Kaduna. The president said in a statement, and I quote, "I'm shocked beyond words by the demise of these 2 promising young men who risked their lives in the service of the country. There is no reward big enough to pay for the services of these young and dedicated professional airmen in the service of their country. My deepest sympathies to the Chief of Air Staff and the families of the deceased. There must be more safety measures put in place to forestall tragic incidents of this kind." End of quote. Meanwhile, the funeral service of 29-year-old Dr. Chinelu Megafu, who was shot in the ill-fated Abuja-Kaduna train attack, is taking place at Shepherd Hill Baptist Church, Obanikoro, Lagos. Megafu will be laid to rest at the Ebony Private Cemetery, Ikoyi, Lagos, after the requiem service today, April 21. The dental surgeon was shot by the terrorists who attacked the train. Her last tweet was to inform the public that she had been shot. Megafu graduated from the University of Port Harcourt in 2016. She did her National Youth Service Corps NYSC program at the Kaduna State Dental Center and worked with St. Gerard's Hospital, Kakuri. According to a friend of hers, Megafu had perfected plans to relocate abroad for a better life before her death. Former President Olusegun Obasanjo has disclosed that amid growing insecurity in the country, the creation of state police would be a better option than community policing. Obasanjo made this disclosure when the leadership of the National Association of Ex-Local Government Chairmen in Nigeria paid him a courtesy visit in Abeokuta on Wednesday. Obasanjo, who commended the initiative behind the formation of the body, said that the development clearly showed that some local chairmen in the country were better than even the top elected leaders. The former president, while responding to one of the speakers, Chinwe Monu Olariwaju's submission on creation of community police to curb the wave of insecurity, quipped that the idea needed to be changed. According to him, the situation in Nigeria concerns everyone, particularly the case of terrorism. The case has gotten over the issue of community police. It is now state police. It is from that state police that we can now talk about community police. The Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) on Thursday said that no amount of security challenges would stop the conduct of the 2023 general election. The chairman of INEC, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, stated this during the public presentation of the 2022 to 2026 strategic plan and the 2023 election project plan, which was held in Abuja. According to him, the documents presented were the third in the series of strategic election plans since the era of deliberate planning of elections started in 2012. He added, the election will involve an estimated 1 million electoral officials, both permanent and temporary or ad hoc staff, deployed to 176,846 polling units in 8,809 wards and 774 local government areas across the country. At the close of the submission of completed presidential nomination forms of the main opposition, People's Democratic Party (PDP), on Wednesday, 17 presidential aspirants were listed for further screening ahead of the party's primary elections. The party realized 640 million naira from the 16 male presidential aspirants and 6 million naira from the only female presidential aspirant, Diana, making the revenue generated 646 million naira. National Organizing Secretary of PDP, Bature Umar, in a statement, said the screening of presidential aspirants would commence April 27, while the governorship aspirants would be screened on April 26. Umar also said the House of Representatives, Senatorial, and House of Assembly aspirants would be screened on April 25, while appeals by those dissatisfied with the screening